Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm Helen with One Structural, and today we are going to get into our Balcony1 webinar regarding all things compliance for both SB721 and SB326. I know it's been a little while since I have done these webinars. We have been, fairly busy regarding our inspections and our other divisions. But of course, we are never too busy for any of our clients, and we have plenty of crews and staff to help you with whatever you need. But it's definitely a sign that for the balcony inspections, get those booked soon so you are not in too long of a waiting period, and then you miss the deadline. So today I'm going to be going over the compliance steps for both SB721, which is for apartment buildings, and SB326, which is for HOAs and condo communities. I'm going to be sharing my screen. If you have any questions at any time, please feel free to ask them in the chat, and I will get to them, I believe, as soon as I stop sharing my screen. Hopefully everything will be covered. If not, again, ask in the chat or give us a call. Let me see if I can even add our number onto the screen. Let me see. 323 balcony. And here, info at balcony.com. Okie dokes. There we go. So you can call any of these numbers or call any of our phone numbers that you have for the company, the retrofit number, the ADU company. Will all go to us. We're one big team. So without further ado, I am going to share my screen and get into compliance since that deadline is approaching quite soon. So hopefully everybody can see this. I'm going to hide that. And we will begin. Again, any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat or give us a call. So both bills were effective in 2019. So although many of you may have just heard about this, you think it's so new, why do I have to comply? It actually took effect in 2019. And just a little bit of background, this was due to the UC Berkeley balcony collapse, which several students died because the balcony, the structural components had a lot of issues, water intrusion, rods, as well as I think that it was actually the engineer or contractor, something like that. The contractor used the wrong wood, something like that. So it was a slew of issues, unfortunately, that caused the balcony to collapse and a bunch of students passed away. So because of that, this bill took effect for all types of elements such as this. There was a more recent one in Malibu that you may be familiar with, where that was just even a deck that collapsed also. Due to an array of problems. So because of that, this bill took effect 2019, and the first deadline is coming up January 1st, 2025, which basically means next December 2024, these need to be finished because the deadline is 1/1/25. Some people are confused and think they have all of 2025. You do not. You have the rest of 2024 basically, and that's all. So that's actually not that much time, given that, it takes time to get a quote, pick a company, do your inspection. If you do need repairs, go through those repairs and so forth. So it's a lengthy process that it is better to get started now. I used to say sooner than later, but it's not that soon anymore. Right now is the time to do it, or you will be late. So this affects all buildings with 3 or more units, and the main goal is getting your exterior elevated elements inspected. Exterior elevated elements are things such as balconies, walkways or catwalks, porches, decks, landings, anything that's above 6 feet from the ground, made for human load. And basically just ask yourself, can this element collapse and cause injury down below? So if your balcony is over dwelling space, it is exempt. But even if it doesn't protrude out of the edge of the building, if it's flushed with the edge, but there is an empty cavity underneath your balcony, because sometimes there's another balcony underneath, you still must comply and get that inspected. So it doesn't have to protrude or cantilever out over the edge of the building. It can be recessed flushed with the edge, but if there's that cavity underneath, another balcony, a walkway, something like that, you still must comply. Even if you don't have balconies, but you have exterior elevated catwalks or walkways within internal courtyards of your building, you have to get those inspected. What we do personally with those is we measure their linear feet and kind of move into chunks how many elements that would be. So if you had 100 linear feet of a walkway, we would divide that into X amount of feet to determine inspection areas for you. So what do you have to do? So basically the steps are get a quote, make sure the company has the correct license, which I will get into because there is a difference between SB721 and SB326 that a lot of managers, landlords, and companies actually are not aware of. So it's important to make sure that the company that you work with has the correct and required license by the state. Once you choose a company that hopefully has some good experience, you trust them, you like them, hopefully us, you book your inspection. I think with any company right now, the waiting period could be anywhere from a month to start your inspection to maybe several months. Once that inspection is done, it could take anywhere from 1 day to a week, 2 weeks, depending on the size of your community. If you only have a few elements, few units, we should be able to do that in 1 day. But if you are a larger HOA community with hundreds of units, expect us to be there for several days, maybe a week. We handle all of the tenant or resident communication. We coordinate with all of them in case any access to the units are required. We handle all of that for you as well as ahead of time. But it is a tedious process. We take care of all of those steps, but that's just what to expect during the inspection. The report is then worked on after the inspection is complete and typically given within 45 days. That's the most general requirement, 45 days. And then, of course, if anything is flagged and needs repairs, you got to get those repaired. The timelines vary as well, depending on the level of, danger for that repair. So SB721, this is only pertaining to apartment buildings with 3 or more units. So these are, usually, I guess anybody can own these, whether it's a landlord, partners, anything like that, but it's an apartment building with tenants. And the difference here, I guess the main difference between this and SB326 is that for apartment buildings, only 15% of each type of element must get inspected. So even if you have 100 balconies, we do not have to inspect all 100 of them in the same manner. We would inspect 15% of them. And please note that this is for each type. So 15% of each type of balcony, 15% of the linear feet of walkway, and so forth. And we will still do, of course, a visual on all of your elements, but that minimally invasive, the borehole endoscopic camera type, so we can see within the structural elements in that element, that is done on 15%. And this inspection is done every 6 years. So again, that first deadline is coming up in about a year and a couple of months, actually. And then it's every 6 years thereafter. For SB326, this is for condo communities, HOAs with 3 or more units. The biggest difference, again, is SB721 has that 15%. SB326, basically every single element has to get inspected. The law specifically says that we have to have about 95% certainty. So this means we're going to be inspecting all of them. Unlike SB721, which we are doing more of the boreholes and the invasive inspection, this one can be more visual with doing further invasive testing as well as destructive testing and the boreholes when we do visually see certain issues. And because this is more thorough, I guess, this inspection is required every 9 years, not 6 like SB721. So these are basically the steps from start to finish for your inspection and repairs if needed. We offer free element count. So everybody asks, what do you charge? What do you charge? That varies depending on how many elements you have, how many balconies, how long are your walkways, how many landings. So we send our field technician out. He does an EEE count, so an exterior elevated element count, counts all of your balconies, measures everything, measures the linear feet of all of your walkways, decks, and so forth. We then prepare your quote based on the findings of our technician, who is heavily trained. And so your quote is based on the number of elements and linear feet that your specific property has. When you're ready to go, and hopefully when you feel comfortable with us, and we are very happy to meet you at your property. You can meet us at our Tarzana office. We can do board meetings, lunch and learns, meet with any of the properties owners, whatever is needed to meet with you, go over our quote, explain to you the steps. So once you feel comfortable, you schedule the inspection with our team. We have a specific balcony scheduling team that handles, again, as mentioned, all of the tenant and resident coordination, scheduling, everything like that, which units need access and everything like that. So that gets scheduled. Once the inspection is completed, again, anywhere between 1 day, 5 days, 7 days, however long is needed based on how many elements we're working with, we then prepare the report to you. And again, typically 45 days unless there is an imminent threat. And then if and only if we flag certain elements for repairs, we typically grade them anywhere from a 1 to a 5. You must complete those necessary repairs as needed, including, of course, for SB721, any emergency, hazardous threats, imminent threats, something like that. Non-emergencies have their own rules, and as well as SB326 has its own rules for these repairs. So what is in the report? The report has details, of course, covering each element that was inspected. You also see photo proof, especially if we have our endoscopic camera going in, our moisture meters. You will see photo evidence of exactly what we saw. So if we tell you something needs a repair, we're not just pulling it out of nowhere and pretending something does. We would never do that. We would show you proof of the element, of the damage, structural issues, anything like that. So you would find that in your repair. In your report. We would also, of course, provide our recommendations, expected future performance, because even if something wasn't an extreme hazard, you still want to know what condition are your current elements in. And of course, if there are any risks to your tenants and residents, we would note that. If there is any severe issue, emergency, you must, of course, restrict access right away and follow up on that repair as needed. For SB7, I think it's in a different slide, so I will get into those timelines actually in a moment. But SB721 and SB326 have different requirements if a repair is needed. If no repair is needed, like this slide says, if there is no risk, your stuff is in decent to good condition, you're good to go. You must keep that report for a minimum of 2 cycles, which is 12 years, and or 18 in the case of an HOA. That first deadline is coming up January 1st, 2025. So if you do that and you don't need any repairs, you are good for now and until 6 years. And these certain things help us. If the building is new, we get that a lot. Yes, you still have to do it if you have a new building. It's helpful if you have plans from when the building was built. It's helpful if you are still under warranty with whomever built your building. So that's even more of a reason to get it done sooner, even if you did buy a new building, because if you are still under warranty and there's any contractor defects, you could still be under that warranty, which will be super helpful. All in all, the entire process can take anywhere from 6 to 12 months. This is, of course, if repairs are needed because of pulling permits, which are absolutely required for multifamily properties. Please do not think that you can do a structural repair, meaning structural components on this element without a permit. That's just full of liability. You can't do it. We would never do that. So please be wary of any company who says you don't have to. If it's just waterproofing, fine. But any structural elements that are going to need to be replaced or repaired, you have to get plans and pull a permit for that, because that is a structural component of your building. So this is another main difference. So not only are the number of elements that have to be inspected different between both ones, but the person who can do the inspection is different between both 721 and 326. So for SB 721, these as listed are the required inspectors that can do this: civil engineers and architects, structural, licensed B general, building inspector, C5 framing contractor, which I believe they have to have at least 5 years of relevant experience. However, for SB 326 for HOAs and condos, must be a structural engineer or architect, not civil. So all property managers, condo owners, if you are comparing bids or speaking with other companies, make sure they have a structural engineer or architect that is doing your inspection. Otherwise, they cannot for SB 326. And then lastly, these are the requirements as well as some differences that I will explain. So if you do have any emergency repairs, either 721 or 326, you must restrict access immediately. And of course, whomever did your inspection will note any emergency issues. It'll be detailed in your report as well. And then for SB 721, you are required for emergency repairs to just begin working on them right away because these are reported to the city. Oddly enough, SB 326 actually does not have a repair obligation. It is still reported to code enforcement. However, there is no repair obligation because these are, individually owned units. Of course, the access must be restricted, but you don't have a timeline to fix this repair as long as nobody is using it. For non-emergency repairs and recommendations, some of our clients think that even for non-emergency, you suddenly have to repair it next month. No, that's not what it is. And we understand that, if you're already paying for the inspection, you may not have the funds now for what this inspection can reveal. You do have plenty of time for non-emergency repairs. Your permit must be pulled within 120 days. The repair doesn't have to be completed within 120. You have another 120 after that to complete the repair. So again, all in all, that's why we say about 6 to 12 months, because it's going to take, at least 4 weeks, 6 weeks, sometimes 8 weeks to get your inspection done. Then you have another chunk of time before your report is done, then 120 days from that, and then another 120 days to complete the repair. So it is a lengthy process, which works in your favor to get your building safe, to get it up to code, to not be liable for any injuries or deaths either, because none of you want that. So you do have time for these non-emergency repairs. And honestly, any emergency repair, you more than likely are already aware of this, because if it's something so hazardous to human life, you most likely will see some signs of it already in that element. So it's not going to be that much of a shock or surprise. So that about does it for our Balcony1 compliance, how to comply with SB 721 and how to comply with SB 326. If you have any questions, give us a call or let us know. You can reach me at helen@balcony1.com. I'll post that in the chat as well. You can reach me there directly, or of course, just give us a call, and we're all here to assist you. We take care of, actually, just to mention too what I was just about to say, some people still think that whomever did your inspection cannot do your repair. The bill and law was actually amended not too long ago, allowing whomever did the inspection to do the repair as well. The phone number is either 323 Balcony or call any of our other numbers. I'm putting it here as well, 1-844 for Retro One. That's our main line. That's an O, as in the alphabet O, and then the number 1. That's also a main line. So all of our phone numbers are specific to certain divisions, but they all go to the same team, same office. So so yes, now the inspector can do the repair. We have in-house engineers and architects that are doing your inspections, doing your reports. Our owners are licensed general contractors, so we can do the repair as well. So we are a one-stop shop, so you don't have to go shop around with each step or get concerned about somebody not providing the full service. We do that all from A to Z at One Structural in our Balcony1 division. Same for all of our other divisions as well. So again, if you want any meeting, board meeting, Zoom meeting, in person, a walkthrough at your property, if you want to review your proposal together, we're happy to do all of that to help you feel comfortable. And as mentioned, our reports are very detailed with photo evidence, everything needed in case you do need a repair, that you do know it's real. You'll know the level of it, the recommendation, and we're there to work with you and your budget to get everything completed. So thank you so much. I'm Helen with One Structural in our division Balcony1, and I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.